Hey guys, welcome to Ben Ward Music. If you didn't know, this is Making an Album Vlogs number 2. This is the second vlog in my series about making a new album. I'm making a worship album. I'm actually beginning tomorrow. I am tracking, which tracking means, you know, like the basic stuff, like bass, drums, guitars, stuff like that. So then you can lay vocals and you can overdub. You can put things on top of that. So I'm just taking you through it. Last week, we just talked about the process. I showed you a little bit of a song I'm working on. I just talked about picking the right songs and getting the right songs. And so I'm really excited this week to, as we're tracking, I'm going to try to bring you along and vlog and all that kind of stuff. But the day before, I kind of want to just give you a little background on how I got to this spot, of how I decided to do this album and why now and all of that stuff. And, you know, that's probably longer discussion than our little vlog here, but at least it'll give you some insight to it. And just kind of give you some, especially spiritual background for me, because that's really important in my life. So, several months ago, actually, Olivia and I have a friend who we know just roundabout through a bunch of different ways. Long story for another time. But she is a great lover of music. Her name is Leanne, and she lives in Virginia, and she's just awesome. She is just a connoisseur of music. Whenever I want to know good music, I text her and say, hey, what are you listening to right now? And then I go download all of it and listen to it. And she loves all kinds of music. I mean, from the current top 40 stuff to really weird stuff in a cool way, to worship music, to Christian music, every kind of music. So I know when she gives me a suggestion or when she likes something, it's a big deal to me. So anyway, that's kind of cool. Well, we were talking about something related to music one time, and this was just, you know, several months ago. I don't even remember how long ago. And she was like, in all caps, she's like, I'm reading it here because I wrote it down because I like to try to keep track of these things. She's like, dude, you need an album. I was like, yeah, that would be nice. I got so many things going on, I don't have time to do that. And then she was like, well, let me be, I was just paraphrasing here, be how God whispers in your ear, because he told me, Ben will write and record and release and you will buy it. And she's so funny, she was like, go forth. When he tells you, duh. So, in a fun way, I was like, wow, that's really cool. I mean, like, that's the kind of things, like the confirmation that I think we all are looking for in our life when we're trying to do something big or something that requires a lot of faith, something that requires a lot of effort in that way. And so that was kind of the first step. And then back in September, I went to Nashville for a thing with my wife Olivia and her sister Hannah. If you guys don't know, you know, Olivia won The Biggest Loser, and so I helped them with their filming, their YouTube channel, My Fitspiration, which you can check out, and all that kind of stuff. And I had coffee with a really good friend of mine from Berklee College of Music. I went to Berklee College of Music and majored in songwriting. I had a friend named Alberto, who I mentioned last week, who was a production student. He's from Brazil, and I wrote songs for his final project, and we really hit it off, kind of bonded over country music because that's a lot in my blood. And so we hadn't talked for a while. He had gone back to Brazil and he'd come back to Nashville, and we had kind of, you know, he had kind of initiated some stuff over Facebook, and we started talking again, and we kind of picked up where we left off again. So I went to see him, I met his wife, and we were having coffee, and he's like, once again, I think he said dude exactly like Leanne. Maybe that's the spiritual thing in all of this. Dude, why don't you have an album? And I was like, well, you know, there's all these things I'm doing, and, you know, I just don't have time. I'm still writing a ton, and every once in a while I'll do these little demos, and I'll do my YouTube channel and all this kind of stuff. And he was like, you need to do an album. And see, here's the thing about Alberto. He's very successful. He was nominated for a Latin Grammy last year. Like, he's legit, you know? Legit, yo! And so he was like, you need to do one, and I'll do it. I'll do it for you. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah, we'll figure it out. He's like, I'll come up to New York, and then you can come back down here to Nashville, and we'll just figure it out if you have players up there and all that stuff. And I was like, man, it's pretty incredible. So I was super excited about that. Didn't know how that would play out yet, but all these seeds keep getting planted, right? All these seeds keep getting planted. So then fast forward maybe like a month, okay? And at the time, I have another fitness channel. I have on YouTube called Don't Be the Fat Husband, and where I talk about health and fitness, and I still do it once a week. And I love it. It really helps me because I lost over 100 pounds. Many of you know that story. And so it really helps me to stay on track. Plus, I love encouraging other people that are trying to do the same thing. And, it's a constant struggle to keep it off. And so I was doing 3 videos a week, a lot of time. I loved doing it, but it was just becoming a lot. Plus, I was working on this side project and this side project, plus my full-time job at the church, plus trying to write, plus trying to do this. And if there's just, are you going to do an album? How would that even work? And plus, like I talked about last week, I didn't know what style. I have all these different buckets of songs. So I was just writing a lot of songs that particular week, couple weeks, and there's a guy at the church. He's a pastor on staff, and he plays drums on the worship team, but he's like a campus pastor, which means that of one of the campuses, he greets people and takes care of a lot of things and the actual building itself, and it's just awesome. Just an awesome guy. Once again, another story for another time. And I played him a new song, and he really liked it, and he was like, "Oh, that's really great." And then later on that day, he asked me to come in his office. He's like, and I was like, "Okay." And so I sat down, and he was like, "Your music, whatever it is, you have it, and I feel like it's for a lot of people." He's like, "I don't know what that means. I don't know, whatever." He's like, "But you need to do whatever it is that's in your heart with your music. You need to do it." And so that was great encouragement, right? You love to hear that. It's kind of related to Leanne's text and, Alberto's offer to help. But then he went on and he said something that I felt was really from God, like that really spoke to me and really spurred me to action. He said, "This is important for you to do, but it will require sacrifice." I don't think he understood the implications of what Holy Spirit was speaking to me at that moment, which was that I needed to lay down some of the other things I was doing, like the Don't Be the Fat Husband. Not that I necessarily needed to lay it all the way down, but that it did not need to become the sole focus of my life. It did not need to consume all my time. And there was some other project. I was doing this music business thing with a music publishing company, and it was just, all of these things kind of came, there was time for them to end. And I really felt like anytime God does something in your life big and he uses you in a real way, it requires sacrifice. It just does. I mean, I talk about this on the Health and Fitness channel. If you're going to lose weight, you've got to sacrifice. You can't have a treat every day. You can't have ice cream every day. You can't do all this. You have got to sacrifice. And God honors sacrifice. And so immediately out of that conversation, several things shifted in my heart. And the first one was, I need to pull back on Don't Be the Fat Husband. So I'm going to go to once a week. So I did that. That was hard just because I kind of really developed some great relationships and looked forward to speaking with people in the comments, like 3 times a week and all this. But it was also interesting because out of that, God really spoke to me. I actually really got choked up and really felt like I really had a breakthrough. And then Jim was really like, what's happening? But God really showed me in that conversation that the reason I did so many things in so many areas is because I was afraid that if I went all in on one thing, that what if that didn't work out? I was afraid I wouldn't have anything left. So I wouldn't just commit myself wholly to writing worship music because, if worship music didn't work out, then I had country music, or I wouldn't, commit all to this, or, on the side doing this other music business project, or working on websites or app development. All these things are good things, and I'm glad I know about them, and I have an interest in them and can do them at a higher level than just average. But it was rooted in fear in me. That I was afraid to decide. I was afraid to go after one thing. So it really just began to shift. I began to say, okay, I'm going to do 1 video a week of a song on my YouTube channel. I don't know yet what kind of music. I don't know. So the first song I did was just a country song that I had done on my country album. I have one of those from back in the day. And so I just sat at the piano and played it. And then I started to just do some more Christian worship music. And there's this line in a song by Josh Garrels, who's a great artist, by the way, if you don't know him. And it talks just about, it says, just to go wherever the wind is blowing. And that's a very scriptural thing, right? Jesus says about the Holy Spirit. He says, you don't know which way the wind is blowing. You don't know where it comes from or where it's going. And so it is with the believer. And I think sometimes, especially in my life, the wind's blowing one way, and I'm like, I'm going to go against the wind because I have this thing that I want to do, and this is the right thing to do. And listen, sometimes you do have to go against the wind. But more often than not, where is the Spirit blowing in your life? And this is what the big crux in the fall for me was. Where is it going? And I just want to go in that direction. Because all of a sudden, when you have wind at your back, boom, you're going. So all of these things started to happen out of that conversation, and leading up all those seeds. I told you about the text from Leanne and you know, Alberto and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, you know, I did some things around Christmas, some videos that got lots and lots of views just out of the blue. Like from crazy places in the world, like Thailand and all these kind of things. And there were real legit views and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, Lord, this is what you're doing. And I started to feel I'm all in. I can do all these other things, but I'm all in on this. And so that's when I decided to do a worship album. That's when I decided to go after it, and Alberto was really open to that, although that's not necessarily the kind of music he always produces, but that's great, because we'll get different influences, we'll get different things, and just to go after it. Does that mean I'm never going to do those other things that I had to lay down for a little while and not focus on as much? No. As a matter of fact, I felt from the Lord say, it's not bad that you've done them, it's not that you won't do them again, but with those things that are not this music-focused worship, you're a worship leader, so focus on those things. Get quote unquote bogged down. I got bogged down in all kinds of side projects. And so he said, get in and get out. If you're gonna work on a website, get in and get out. Do it, but don't get bogged down there, right? If you're gonna spend and dwell and spend a lot of time on something, make it worship leading. Make it writing worship songs. Make it sharing new songs for people to sing and to worship the Lord. So I have rambled on a long story here, but if you're still with me, thank you. And this is just sort of the background of how we're going into it. Next time you will see, I'm going to have lots of footage of, like, you know, drums and talking about song arrangements and funny stuff and outtakes. It won't all be this serious, but I just want to give you some heart behind it. Thank you for watching. We'll have a video this week on Wednesday. I think a cover song, a new Bethel song. We'll see. And then Friday did a live thing, just a live worship thing, and I'm going to try to do it again this Friday. So join me at noon on Friday for that. And we'll see you next time. Thank you guys, and I hope you have just a blessed day, and I hope you have a great week, first week of February, and we'll see you next time. Ben More Music. Bye, guys.